Fiery chariots of welcome to you, whoever you are, wherever you are, across this somewhat damaged planet that we can all get together and try and heal as much as possible. I hope you're doing your little bit, saving water if you can, spit your cherry seeds out into, some kind of soil, get some plants growing. I don't know, might be a good idea. Consult people who are much more knowledgeable than I am. But, whoever you are, wherever you are, I hope you are extremely well, regardless of the circumstances, as well as can possibly be. I'm going to start this episode with a little bit of a poem called Stardust in honor of Darwin Nunez. And it's by someone who's called John Pigeon. And it goes like this. There was a time when time wasn't, nor space for that matter, or antimatter, when every manner of thing and not thing didn't. Before the whole dime bag shebang blew up in its non-face, and suddenly there was place and separation of thing, a superheated flux cooling toward past, present, and future, spilling its thinning soup du jour to an everland, where deeper meant ever younger, and we'd look just as young to anything or anyone perceiving here from there. Quite an interesting poem that I chose that. I was delighted to be joined by Alan and Abdul. Alan, it did feel to me that the whole dime bag shebang of Darwin Nunez has absolutely blown up with his 4 goals in 45 minutes. And there's no better place to start than Darwin Nunez. How are you feeling, Alan? How are you today? How are you feeling about Darwin?
Oh. Hi, Owen. Thanks for having me on again. I'm really excited about Darren. I was excited about him from the night I seen him in Anfield last year. I was hoping that he was going to score soon enough, which is all strikers need, especially coming into a new club, new country, new language, and trying to bed into a team that's so close. In the first game, I thought I could sense maybe he was a bit anxious, a bit, just unsure. But the minute he came on the pitch the other night, you could just see he'd settled already, if you know what I mean. It's something I like to observe as people's body language. And when that penalty came, I was saying to myself, oh God, wonder will Mo let him take it. And I think it was the icing on the cake for the chap, because we all remember players coming to the club and struggling to get their first goal. But the minute he hit that penalty, the floodgates just opened. You could see the relief on his face. And what a performance after that. All these goals were great. Okay, the keeper should have saved one of them. But the one that sticks out to my mind was the one that I forget it was his third or fourth, where we came down the right-hand side of the pitch. I think that young player we're going to talk about later on, Stefan, I won't even try and pronounce his second name.
No, I'm going to give you a pronunciation lesson later for everybody.
Absolutely.
But yes, call him Stefan for now. Yes, sorry.
I think he won the ball back, passed it across. I think it was Harvey that put the ball across the box.
Wonderful.
And but to me, it was going wide. And next thing, he was there and he put it in. Now, I'm not criticising Jota or Mane or anybody, but they were the type of balls that we'd always miss by a foot or two. The striker would just nearly get them. But wow, he just put his foot out and got it. And I think that's down to his natural goal-scoring qualities. And that goal, for me, sealed the deal. That's the fellow we need in the box. That's that couple of inches ahead, thinking ahead. And as I said, that's not criticising Mane or anyone. but he is that natural goal scorer that was in that position, had the leg out, and as I said, I thought it was going wide, and he just stuck it in. That to me was the start of a beautiful relationship, and I'm really, really excited about that chap. Really.
Excellent answer. Yeah, we'll get to Bajcetic, and I will explain how to pronounce it, even though I've just done it a bit later. Why it's pronounced that way, but who is particularly worried about Serbian pronunciation when we've got Darwin to talk about? And Abdul, the other goal that I loved was the one where he just buried it low into the corner. That was absolutely lovely. You're too much of a whippersnapper to remember Ian Rush, but Robbie Fowler, Fernando Torres, Diogo Jota has the same thing. This killer instinct, this way that they're just assassins. These people in the box, and it looks easy because when the ball comes to attackers like that, what are you supposed to do? You're supposed to either take it one touch to shoot, or maybe control it and shoot. You've got a maximum of 2 touches, and you're supposed to hit it in the corner. And he did that twice in one half of football, and got another couple of goals as well. It's those things that are really exciting for me. Is the fact that we look like we've got another, as Alan was saying, a clinical kind of poacher, surgeon, with his knife and a fresh corpse. I don't know. What do you think, Abdul? What's exciting you most about Darwin?
I think, that goal that you pointed out was actually, like you said, it's a much harder finish than most people would actually put credit to. And I'm not talking as if I'm some footballer who knows how hard it is to bury it into that corner. But there's one particular fan on the internet who's I think he supports Chelsea. But I respect his opinions a lot. And when he saw that finish, he was immediately talking about, wow, Darwin put that so calmly into that far corner. Like it didn't get anywhere near the post, like straight into the side netting, like beyond the post. That's actually a really, really hard technique. Even though it was a really easy kind of goal, I would say. Obviously, Trent teed it up for him, and I think everybody in the team was trying to team up in that match. But it's very good to give credit where credit's due for that finish, and it does really excite me going forward because I think one of the things about Darwin when he signed him was the fact that last season he scored a lot, but he also outperformed his XG massively. That's what all the stats nerds were telling you, and all the naysayers saying like, oh yeah, he's going to have to come back down to earth. XG always balances out at the end of the day. But I think finishes like that make me realize why he possibly outperformed his XG so much, because I think he is very clinical. But obviously, I think the last goal that he scored probably isn't a good evidence to back up what I just said. But in general, it's just very, very good for him to crack open his nut. And I think Jurgen put it well. He said he opened Pandora's box. Looking forward to seeing how he builds on this. But yeah, those first 4 goals definitely give him a lot of confidence. I think the most impressive thing for me about Darwin is the way that he drifts off into the left wing position. I think that is going to create a lot of goals for us next season. He did it with the 4th goal when Carvalho went a bit central. He immediately, naturally just did the outside run, and he got it back, and he did a finish. And I think we're going to see a lot of that in the season coming forward, and I can't wait to see it.
Yeah, totally. And having a more advanced forward is it's an interesting thing to have when we can compare him to Bobby, of course, in the 9. Klopp called him a defensive number 9, and that's a very accurate description of Bobby. But it's interesting, isn't it, that in that second half with Carvalho and Elliott either side of Darwin, and Darwin moving around, his movement was fantastic. But just having that advanced forward gives defenders a different thing to think about, and it's like when you look back at Ian Rush's career, I heartily recommend you seek out that 25-minute video on YouTube or however long it is of all of Ian Rush's goals, because a lot of them are unspectacular, and that's the beauty of them, because his movement makes everything in the end look easy, because it is easy, because he's found himself a position to knock it in with one or two touches. Robbie Fowler was exactly the same. But yeah, it's the movement and having that advanced number 9 compared to Bobby, a retreated number 9, which would allow the wingers to cut in and score. So I think this is a good weapon to have in our arsenal, isn't it? I mean, what do you think of that kind of option, Alan, where we've got this advanced forward now?
Yeah, exactly. I think it's the next evolution of Jurgen's team.
Oh, good pun with Darwin. Evolution, like it.
Yeah, good. And like you said about Rush, I'm old enough to have seen Rush play, and also a player that reminds me of him too, except he was more scruffy, was John Aldridge. Who
good call.
Yeah, John Aldridge doesn't get some of the credit he deserves either. But he was like that. He was always in the front, always ready for tapping goals, especially for Ireland. He worked out in the wings a lot. So I even heard Jason McAteer say the other day, and McAteer can say some great things and some odd things, but he said the other day that it was the first thing that came out of his head after Darwin had put in that performance. He said he reminds me of John Aldridge, just not as scruffy. But yeah, I think it's as I said, it's our next evolution, and to have that teams work you out. Like, we've been the same for a few years with our front three, and it doesn't matter what you are, whether it's in soccer or rugby, teams work you out after a while. So this is the new dimension to us, a new worry for them. And like for Bobby in particular, Bobby can play lots of positions. Bobby can play that kind of number 10 role. He can play behind Darwin. Bobby can step into midfield when we need it. So it just gives us options everywhere. And also I see a lot of, we all seen how good Luis Diaz was last season. And with him on the left and Darwin on the right, they can interlink, switch positions and stuff. I think we're going to have a fantastic season, and lots of them games where we're struggling to beat teams. I think we've better options now to get goals and a lot better threat. Also, there's something I noticed the other day as well, and I think the 5 subs rules is going to help us a lot too. Like, Robbo's our best left back, but Tsimikas is not far behind. And when Tsimikas came on the other night, he put 3 crosses into the box that I remember. 3 great crosses. Nunez nearly scored from one and got very close to another one that was good defending. And the third one was just blocked out. Just blocked out before Nunez got to it. So that was 3 world-class crosses, and Nunez was there. So that's another new dimension we have, because lots of our crosses from the left with Robbo are low crosses. So I think the 5 sub rule is going to help us too, because we can afford to swap players or even fit Tsimikas into the squad. In the last 10 minutes of the game, stick him in midfield or something and get them crosses into Nunez, because it's chap can score both feet, head. He's just fantastic. It's absolutely brilliant. He's a clone in between Rush and dare say it, Peter Crouch. He can score from the air or the ground. He's fast. He's probably the most complete foot forward we've had in a long time.
Big words. I like it. I love it, Alan. Yeah, an excellent comparison with John Aldridge there, although, yes, as you say, not as scruffy. He's a lot cleaner than a vegan's steak knife. Abdul, Gary Richards in the chat, and Dave, couple of legends. Hi, guys. Dave from Dave's LFC chats. He says, hi from sunny Salou. with Salou, which I've just Googled, is in the Costa Dorada in Spain. Hola, Dave. I hope you're having a great time. And Gary Richards says the evolution of the 4-3-3 is Starwin Nunes, which is Gary's nickname. I think is absolutely brilliant for Darwin. But there you go. Yeah, okay. So otherwise, we're moving on in pre-season. Abdul, our next game is against Salzburg on Wednesday. I'll get the kickoff time right this week, it being 7 p.m. UK time. In 3 days, 7 hours, 10 minutes, and 15 seconds, to be exact. From when we're recording this. So Salzburg against Liverpool in Austria. What's been happening in training? I've got a couple of things in my notes here. Basically, Trent is back on the Neuro 11 machines. Do you know Neuro 11, Abdul? This group that we've been working with. Have you heard of these guys?
Yeah, they I can't get very specific, but basically they track the brain waves of players in certain situations to try and see if they can make a difference in big moments. Yeah.
Exactly. It's a really interesting approach to try and make sure that our players stay in the zone where you're not thinking about anything. There's nothing interrupting your flow state. So that's quite interesting, possibly. There's also Bobby, who is unfortunately missing in training yesterday. Apparently, Bobby Firmino missed training yesterday. There's Allison, who's back in training after having had abdominal issues in Thailand. And Harvey Davis has signed a new deal. So you could choose one of those to talk about, Abdul. You could talk about, Trent and the Neuro 11 machines and the advantage that could give us. Bobby missing in training and Bobby's potential role for next season. Or Allison being back, or Harvey Davis signing a new deal. You could choose one of those and give us your thoughts, Abdul.
So I think first thing I want to pick up on is the schedule. The schedule is actually kind of weird. Like, obviously, I didn't even realize until I was watching Man City last night. And got to give a shout out to Erling Haaland's first goal within 12 minutes. Christ alive. What a season it's going to be for us, eh? But I didn't realize until last night while I was watching the match that we're going to play City in the Community Cup in like 6 days. So then it's really weird that we're going to play a game against Salzburg like in another 3 days. Just feels like so tight. And I think we've got a match right after that, like the day after. And then I think it's about 6 days until our first Premier League match after that. So the games are really coming in.
Yeah, let me just confirm those dates for the listeners, just in case you're absolutely right. So Salzburg's on Wednesday, the 27th of July. The Community Shield is very early. It's next Saturday, the 30th of July. God, I didn't even realize that either. And then the day after, we're playing Strasbourg on the 31st of July in a friendly. And then, of course, the week after that, so it's less than 2 weeks away, is the big game against Fulham. But sorry, yeah, you're right. So this does seem a bit bananas, this schedule, but there you go.
It seems like Klopp has prioritized this trip to Austria. And I mean, he loves this Austrian training camp, and fair enough, it looks beautiful every single time. But one thing that's interesting about this, on all the training pics, and that's what I'm looking at here on the side, and also I think it's some commentary that I've seen online. For some reason, this time when we've gone to Austria, we haven't specified exactly where we are. Like, usually it's one particular training ground, and I think it is the same one, but in all of the pictures on Getty at the moment, it all just says unspecified location. And I remember some journalists were saying, like, we don't actually know where they are in Austria. So a bit of mind games, maybe, possibly. But I don't know. It seems like Klopp has built his entire... Because we had a very short Asian tour. I think Man United is still out in Asia. I think they're in Australia right now, doing their commercial stuff. We literally said, no, we're going to play 2 matches, 1 week. Then we're going back to AXA for about 5 days. And then we're going to go to Austria and really put in some hard work for about 10 days. So everything seems to revolve around, I think, this Austrian training camp. And I wonder what dark arts of football Klopp has got them learning, that he has to, put them in a secret location and pretty much say no games. We just want to train. So I would love to be a fly on the wall, or I don't know, whatever kind of Austrian bird flies around in those mountains, just watching what they're doing. So would be really interesting. I don't think I can see Bobby in any of the training picks here, and they did a running day today, so looks like Klopp has had them puking out their guts. But yeah, no Bobby I can see, which is, a bit sad. I really liked his performance in the last match. I tweeted on Watch, I said Bobby is back. I hope it's not an injury. I hope it's just like a little niggle thing. But yeah, I love seeing Bobby in the team. I think he plays so, like, I think the thing with Bobby is when he, and this is a thing that I think Pep Guardiola said it with Bernardo Silva a couple seasons ago. Bobby played so much football for us for so many seasons that I think there was an element of like mental fatigue in terms of like, he wasn't really trying anything new, and all of his ideas just kind of became the same. And it wasn't that they were bad, like, it's obviously working for us. But when you introduce a player who hasn't been in a team for a long time, who's sat down on a bench for quite a bit of the season, and they've got that hunger again, and they've been watching us on the TV, and they can see like the patterns that they would do and things that they would want to try. I think when we've seen Bobby recently, it's been really refreshing. I think he does try new things, and he adds to his game, or he refined his game in certain ways. And I feel like it's only benefited us when we've seen him. And I really, really want to see him back in the team regularly, because I think he is a player who's going to bring out the best in pretty much everyone around him. And I think especially with Darwin here, I think he's going to bring out the best in Darwin. I'm really excited to see if we're going to try like a 4-2-3-1, play Bobby in the hole, or maybe even put Darwin at the left wing and play Bobby as the 9, and then just let Darwin make runs in behind, and Bobby will help him out with all the creative stuff. So yeah, I really hope that whatever Bobby has is just a minor like niggle, and I hope he's just injury free as much as possible this season coming forward.
It's difficult though, isn't it? Because Bobby, there were very, very strong rumours that he had gout. And if you look at the definition of gout, which is what I've done, it's a disease in which defective metabolism of uric acid causes arthritis, especially in the smaller bones of the feet, deposition of chalk stones, and episodes of acute pain. So it's not one. I'm trying to figure out if you can actually get better from gout. I'm not sure, because if your joints get damaged, then the damage cannot be reversed from gout. I know that. And you can have these episodes of acute pain. So let's hope it's not that. Alan, what do you reckon about all this?
Oh yeah, just on the gout thing. I don't know, I'm not a medical person, but I suffer from chronic pain. I was in a car accident in 2005, and I've nerve damage to my lower spine, which causes me grief, so pain and stuff. But
I'm sorry to hear that.
Oh, thank you. But everybody has something wrong with them. There's always somebody worse on you out there. But just on gout, obviously I've been in pain groups and stuff, and I've known younger people with gout. And I think you're correct. I'm not medically up in it, but there's people that was in the group, say, for 15 years that had gout. So I don't think it goes away too easy. I know it can be very sore, hurtful, and I can vouch for that. When you're in pain all the time, it can affect you physically, mentally, and particularly tiredness and stuff. So if that is true, that Bobby has gout, hopefully obviously he will be getting the right treatment and stuff, but it could affect him. I'm sorry to hear that if he has it.
Yeah, I mean, great answer. It's good to know, and I hope that everyone who is suffering out there is, finding as much relief as they possibly can. But yeah, I mean, the question came from Gary, who said, "Does anyone know, is Bobby still suffering from the dreaded gout?" And it's a really good thing to remind me of it, because that's I don't know. A quick Googling says it's not very easy. unfortunately to get rid of it. Or but there you go. Gary's saying he would have to change his diet. Yes, of course, he would have to change his diet, and also that to go back to pre-season camp, and it looks like Klopp wants everyone to be ready for a long season. That's what Gary says, and yeah, I mean it's going to be a long season. It's going to be we're going to need everybody in the team. We've got, I mean, all manner of competitions, and then this huge break. The 5 subs you've already talked about, but the season being so close now, less than 2 weeks away, or 1 week until the Community Shield. Let's have a look at our rivals. I thought we'd have a nice chat about what's been going on. So we may as well start with City. So as it stands, they've brought in Erling Haaland, of course. And Abdul, you said that Haaland, I mean, you watched the game. I read that he scored after 12 minutes and then he had another one wrongly ruled out for offside or something in the first half. How did City look? Lethal as ever against Bayern Munich in their friendly?
City looked just unbelievable, to be honest. For the stage that they're at in pre-season, I'm not even sure. I think that might have been their very first game of pre-season. Let me just have a quick gander. But they came back to pre-season like minimum a week after Liverpool. I think they've only been in training for like 7 days.
Okay.
They went straight out to Houston. Haaland didn't even train until I think 3 days ago was his first training session. So no, their first game of preseason was the 21st, so 3 days ago, and then yesterday, and then they're going straight into the match against us in the FA Community Shield on Saturday. So they've had a very condensed preseason. Haaland hasn't even trained much of it, and they just look so good against the top Bayern Munich team. They didn't play Mane, unfortunately, but they had pretty much, it was both teams' first 11s. Saying that, City, they do look a bit like you're just wondering about some of these holes in their squad, because they just sold Zinchenko. They started yesterday Wilson Ebrand at left back. They had Walker on the bench, but they basically need to get Cucurella signed. And if not Cucurella, then they need to get a left back because it just feels like they're weak in that position. Also in midfield, if they sell Bernardo, which they possibly might not anymore, Frankie de Jong just doesn't want to leave Barcelona, and then they can't afford to really bring in another player. But yeah, you just do kind of feel like City are a bit weak. But Grealish looked good. Haaland looked good. Like, what more can you say? Like, they're pretty much ready to go into a long season, and yeah, they're just playing great football already, and it's just really weird for me to see a team playing that good football already. So yeah, that's all I can say about City. It looks like it's going to be another tough one.
Yeah, it's a bit depressing, isn't it, Alan? I mean, they were also saying Kelvin Phillips. I said before, I think that is a bit of a waste of money. But they're starting the season against, let me just bring their fixtures up. So their August fixtures in the Premier League, they're away to West Ham, the first one, and then they're at home to Bournemouth, away to Newcastle, at home to Palace, and at home to Nottingham Forest. In at least 3 of those games, I reckon, they're going to rack up at least 3 goals because they're just brilliant. But, having lost Sterling and having sold Zinchenko, and Bernardo for now is staying, as Abdul said. Let's assume that he stays. And yes, thank you, Gabriel Jesus. I knew there was someone I was forgetting. Is that going to weaken Man City, Alan, or is it just wishful thinking they'll be as awesome as ever?
Well, I suppose on the wishful thinking part, Sterling left, and normally the Rats are the first to leave a sinking ship, so I'll put my fingers crossed on that. But yeah, I think they've lost a lot of experience there, and I agree with you about Calvin Phillips. I don't think he's sensational player, and he's a bit injury prone. But Gabriel Jesus, Sterling, a few of them players that have left have been, good 8, 9 out of 10 players when they've come on and stuff. So yeah, they're going to lose a bit of something there. Who did they beat? It was Bayern Munich the bet, was it?
Bayern Munich, yeah, yesterday as
yeah.
we're recording this.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, I think that by the looks of things, I think the season is going to start off the way it ended last season, where you just have to win every game. I think City are going to start strong, and they know they have to, and we're the same. And like as Abdul was saying there, I don't know, he's dead right. This training camp is what Klopp is really focused on. He's not focused on games. I don't think he's even that worried about the Charity Shield or Community Shield, whatever they call it now. But
maybe it'll come back though. Maybe it'll come back to bite them. The fact that they're not really prepared, having played. I mean, the one pre-season friendly they had before yesterday was against Club America on the 21st of July, 3 days ago, as Abdul said. Kevin De Bruyne got 2 goals. But I mean, without, later down the line, again, wishful thinking, that maybe they're going to be underprepared for the later parts of the season.
Just a quick one. Apparently, they've got a game against Barcelona on the 24th of August. Definitely not Champions League.
August, sorry. Okay, yeah. Okay.
So, pretty much what? Community Shield, first, second, third. So after 3 games of the Premier League and the Community Shield fixtures, they've just got a random friendly against Barcelona. So
midweek fixture. That's right. Yeah,
maybe
curious.
they're just doing a weird preseason fixtures list. I don't know. I can't see any other games, but that was interesting. I was like, what? But yeah.
Yes, it does say that. Yeah, club friendly on the August the 24th between 2 matches in the Premier League, between Newcastle away and Palace at home. They decided to go to Barcelona away as well. All right, maybe Pep wants to, Pep's mates at the Camp Nou wanted some extra, attendance money for people coming in. Maybe, I mean, it could just be as simple as that.
Or Pep is overthinking again.
Pep's overthinking again. That's very, very possible, isn't it? But
I've actually just seen Haaland's goal here on Sky News. A nice 3-yard tap in, so it's good finish, but nothing spectacular. So.
Well, I mean, but that's what I was saying about. Yeah, well, that's the thing I was saying about number 9s, though. It's the unspectacular goals that are in many ways more impressive, because that means they get their movement spot on. But anyway, okay, let's move on to happier things instead of just how depressingly good, Man City are with their oil money, the cheats, and their lawyers that can just make them get away with it. Anyway, let's move on to Everton. LOL, because I think you have to add these 3 letters after Everton now, Abdul. Did you see the result against Minnesota? Did you see what Frank Lampard had to say afterwards? Basically, what's making you laugh most about Everton now?
I didn't. I saw the result. Didn't even bother to watch the performance. I saw Dele Alli miss an absolute sitter.
It was crazy. Goal. He missed from 1 yard. It was an open goal from 1 yard. He was in the middle of the goal and he put it wide or over. I can't remember. His face afterwards, he spat on the floor. It was hilarious. But yeah, no idea. Sorry, carry on.
No, it's just, I mean, we'll see what actually happens in the heat of the season. To be fair, I can't even lie. I'm actually a bit of a Lampard fan. I thought he did a decent job at Derby, missed out on promotion. I thought he brought through a lot of youngsters with him at Derby, so Mason Mount, Tomori, and then he went to Chelsea in his first season. I think he did a decent job, transfer ban, got them into top 4. The whole thing about, how he starts answering questions, starts with something a bit funny and then goes serious. I liked the reputation he's building for himself, and I thought he was unlucky to get sacked at Chelsea, to be fair, but that is what happens at that club. Huge standards. So
I couldn't disagree more, Abdul. I could not disagree more. I think he's the most uninspiring, flat numbskull that I've seen manage in a while. I think Everton are guaranteed to start the season extremely badly because he doesn't inspire anything. The way that he talks. I mean, do you remember David Beckham in interviews? He's like, yeah, well, I kind of hit the free kick and it went in the goal, and I was
Yeah.
quite happy about that. Do you remember that? That's how David Beckham used to answer any kind of question. That's Frank Lampard after the Minnesota game. He's like, yeah, well, obviously, I wasn't very happy with the game, and I think it told us a lot about our players. And like he just, when you see a 5-year-old like put an ice cream in their eye because their neurons haven't developed enough, or maybe a 3-year-old, and they miss their mouth because then it's not their fault, it's just their neurons haven't quite made the connections. Frank Lampard's missing a lot of connections. There's something missing in his brain.
No, fair enough. Possibly, yeah. Who knows? Well, yeah, I can't disagree with your analysis. I don't really pay too much attention to him, but I do want to see him do well. Okay, that's what I can say. I don't know why.
Why?
I just think
he told one of our staff members to piss off.
Yeah, he got that fire in him. But I mean, yeah, I don't know. I just I like both him and Gerrard. I think it's good for English managers that we have, a strong cohort of managers coming through. And I just hope I know that Everton, we should laugh at them and we should want the worst of them, but I really don't want them to be that bad. I don't want them to be stuck in a relegation battle again. I do think they've got some good young players. I like Anthony Gordon, for example. I like they've got somebody with the Ben in his name, Ben Godfrey. I think he's a half decent player. So yeah, I hope we see something interesting. On a just interesting side note, Dele Alli, obviously he's just had his huge peak when he was young, come down to earth now, and he's possibly even below earth by 6 feet, how bad he is at the moment. But his personal life, he started dating possibly what one could term as like possibly the hottest girl in the world at the moment. And she's going to be watching Everton games. So I don't know how long that relationship's going to last, but it seems pretty serious. So I don't know what's going on. The guy just always seems to get lucky.
Well, beauty is in the eye of the beholder, but I knew that there was some kind of gag in Britain, but I'm in France, so I can talk about it. Some kind of press gag involving a sex tape of Dele Alli involving a dog. And I found this out when I was working at what's now RMC Sport in France, that there was some kind of, pretty like disgusting video involving some kind of sex act with Dele Alli and a dog. And I was like, no, that can't be true. But my colleague insisted because he had seen it. And I could see in his eyes that by talking about it, it brought the image back to the forefront of his mind. And I could see how disturbed he was. So whenever I see Dele Alli now, I just think I haven't sought out the video myself to watch it, but I just think, dogs, really, I don't know. But anyway, Everton, LOL, they're pretty funny, Alan. I mean, Abdul is such a magnanimous guy. He's a really generous-hearted spirit. He says he doesn't hope Everton get in a relegation scrap, but for me, it's going to be one of the highlights of the season. I'm not as nice as Abdul at all. I can't wait for their relegation scrap. What do you reckon, Alan?
Well, first of all, Abdul, I'm a huge fan of yours. I can't believe you like Frank Lampard. Sorry, he is just the most drool, uninspiring person. And I have nothing personal against him, but you compared him to Stevie G. I'm sorry, you're off my Christmas list.
Wow, fair enough. I can take that.
I think he's, like Owen said, he's no. You know what I think? He's fake when he's talking. I think his brain is not connecting because he's trying to talk in a way he's not used to talking. He's not talking as a Londoner. He's trying to sound politically correct. He's just so uninspired, and it just bores me to death. But we're all entitled to our opinion.
We are, and
yeah,
Abdul
absolutely
has come up with some wonderful opinions. Shared it's a different
absolutely.
world. So it's okay.
Abdul's,
We're different
I'm Abdul's
opinions.
biggest
Everybody's
fan, but just that shocked me.
well done.
Anyway, for play, buddy. Yeah, Everton. I don't know. You have to just. I'm not totally against Everton. I don't want not like I would agree. It doesn't bother me to go up or down, but it's fun to watch them. I think their season is going to fall apart fairly quick, and I have a funny feeling Lampard will be the first manager sacked.
Well, can I just give you their fixtures to start the season? They've got Chelsea at Goodison, and Chelsea at home, then Villa away, Forest at home, Brentford away, and Leeds away. And I think all of those for Everton will be difficult in different ways. But yeah, they've only brought in Tarkovsky. But I mean, how quickly is it going to fall apart? For me, it's going to fall apart in the first 5 games.
Yeah, and I think I seen something yesterday on social media that the fans are marching out, trying to get the owner out, protesting against the owner. So
They've got to blame someone.
Yeah, so they're starting before the season starts, so it doesn't look good for them. But Lampard doesn't inspire me. I don't think buying Dele Alli first of all was like, what did they pay for Dele Alli? 40 million or something? Like,
Did they?
Crazy,
God.
crazy. Now, a friend of mine did send me something this morning, but because of I read it saying that Everton are supposedly considering letting Dele Alli go already. But when I seen the paper it came from, I just discounted it straight away. It's a paper we won't talk about.
That disgusting rag.
Yeah,
we won't mention them.
But there's no inspiring signings. They've lost the Cock, the Rooster. They haven't brought anyone in, and I don't think anybody wants to go there. So I think the 3 teams that come up from the Championship only have to worry about being in the bottom 2, because I think Everton will be in the bottom straight away and will stay there unless sack Frank and bring in Harry.
I think you're right. I mean, Gary Richards is saying that Lampard will take Everton down. Great to have Mr. Nice HK. That's Brian in Hong Kong. He's in the chat. Yeah. He's just laughing. He's just put an LOL for Everton because it's that kind of thing. Let's move on away from Everton into another one of our rivals, Manchester United, a genuine rival, not a fake rival like Chelsea or Man City, who, let's face it, if they're playing against Man United, you're always going to support City, aren't you? But we don't really care about City. And Chelsea, Man United, you're going to support Chelsea as well because it's fun to watch United lose. They haven't been doing all that much losing, but I saw that they drew 2-2, having been 2-0 up against Aston Villa, Steven Gerrard's Aston Villa. But Manchester United, they start the season, they've got 4 fixtures in August against Brighton at home at Old Trafford, and then they're away to Brentford, then they're at home to Liverpool, and then they're away to Southampton. Abdul, what have you made of Man United and their resurgence? I think Jadon Sancho, apparently he scored one and set one up. He might be a good bet for your fantasy Premier League team at 7.5 million if you can accept having Manchester United players, because, you might feel like, it's like, the dirtiest underwear in the fantasy Premier League game, isn't it? And, it's like some people, they take a sniff, but I don't. He's not in my team. But it might be a bargain if you want to have a sniff at that. But in the real world, Abdul, Manchester United, they're on some kind of resurgence. I'm looking forward to them thinking there's a resurgence and then scraping perhaps 4th, but probably 5th or 6th. That's still my prediction for them. Can you see things going well at Old Trafford?
I think they're going to go better. You can't really get much worse than they did last year. I think last year was literally their worst finish in a league in like decades or something like that, something stupid. So it's got to get better. I think they have shown signs of improvement in their preseason games. Obviously, they smashed us in the very first one, gave them a lot of confidence. But I think, performance-wise as well, we have seen little things like For example, like you're saying, Sancho, I think it was such a missed opportunity last season. They just didn't know where to play him. They were like, oh, they started him off on the right wing and something wasn't happening in the season. So they put him up to the left wing. It wasn't really happening there. Put him back to the right wing, put him back to the left wing, just dropped him entirely for like the last 3 months of the season. But yeah, it's clear that, he was pretty much their best right winger. And that's what Ten Hag has done. He's just come in and he said, well, we don't really have any other right wingers. You're pretty much the best option there. That's where we're going to play you. And he's been playing pretty well for them in preseason so far. I think all this faffing about that they're doing out in Asia, in Australia, I think Liverpool got the right idea. Just get in, get out, get back to somewhere where you can do some proper training. The pitch that they played on last night, or whenever they played a couple of days ago against Aston Villa, horrible pitch. I've never seen a more horrible pitch in professional football. Literally just coming up everywhere. They couldn't even pass the ball. So I'm just thinking, like, what was even the point of that match, really? They drew it 2-2 in the very last minute. So Gerrard got the last minute equalizer he wanted. But yeah, like, I'm not sure Ten Hag will appreciate the preseason preparations, but that would have all been decided before he even came in. So I think next season, he would definitely take a different approach. But United in general, I think it all depends on two things: whether they can keep the player that they want to keep in Ronaldo, because clearly he just doesn't want to be there, flogging himself out to every team he can possibly. And then also whether they can bring in the player that they do want in Frankie de Jong, who, again, just doesn't want to be there, who's literally kicking and screaming like a toddler to not go to Manchester United. So, yeah, that's the transfer market, I think, is huge for them, mainly because Ten Hag doesn't have that much time to produce results. He doesn't have the training time that he will need to really change them overnight, because he's going to go straight into European competition as well. So he's not going to have the 7 days of training in between matches that will definitely have helped him. So they need, and that's what his transfer strategy has been this summer. It hasn't been, oh, let's set up a scouting system and find these rare talents and from the metrics like Liverpool do. It's literally just been like, lads, I need to produce results. I know these players can produce results for me. Let me bring them in. So yeah, it literally depends on transfers for United, and yeah, we'll see. I think Ten Hag is a good addition for them, and I think they will do a lot better than they did last season. But yeah, it's still all up in the air, really.
It is all up in the air, and we don't know where it's all going to land. I mean, they've brought in Christian Eriksen since we last spoke, Alan, on a free. That was confirmed. It was rumoured before. And apart from that, they have Tyrell Malacia. There is a lot of uncertainty about Ronaldo, but it looks like he wants to go, and they don't particularly want to keep him. Yeah, I mean, what do you make of what's going on there? Just to recap their pre-season fixtures as well. Obviously, they beat us 4-0. And then Melbourne victory. They beat Melbourne victory, apparently, 4-1. Then they beat Crystal Palace 3-1. And they drew yesterday, as we're recording this, with Aston Villa. They're doing the same thing as us, having 2 friendlies in 2 days. Our first friendly is against City in the Community Shield. And then we've got a game the day after against Strasbourg, as we mentioned. United that same weekend, next weekend, they've got Atletico Madrid and then Rayo Vallecano the day after. But yeah, this trip out, I mean, Abdul was mentioning the pitch. It was in Australia, the Optus Stadium in Australia, where they went. So, I mean, I don't know. How do you see it going for them, Alan?
Yeah, well, pretty much like Abdul said there. It's not something Ten Hag would have wanted, this traveling around Asia and Australia. I also agree with Abdul that he's a great manager. I think he will be a good manager, but I think he's got a shock. I think he came in to United thinking he was going to go for De Jong and players like this, and they're all going to come running to him. I think he might have come in, and after a month realised, crap, nobody wants to come here. This is going to be a long-term project rather than 1 or 2 year fix. So I see like their win over us. Like if I'm old enough to remember 10 years ago, if we got a win over them in pre-season, we celebrated like brilliantly, but it meant nothing to us, that win. But to them, it was a boost. It was his first kind of big game and stuff. I could see an improvement in players. You're right, they are using Sancho better. And I could see him making an improvement in players the way Klopp does. But he hasn't got the players there to have big improvements in them. I think is his problem. And I'm Irish, I'm not English, so I can say it. Harry Maguire is crap. I wouldn't have him in the local team here. He is just crap. I think that's his first thing. He needs to sort out the back four. He needs to sort out a good back four first, a good midfielder, and then work from there. But it's not going to happen quickly. I can see them finishing sixth this year, fifth, sixth, maybe fifth at a push, but that could be a false dawn for them as well. Teams around them this year, like Spurs, even Villa, are going to get better stuff. I'm waffling on here a bit, but yeah, basically, I think he's a great manager, but I think he's bitten off a bit more than he can chew. Also, are United making the same mistakes? De Jong doesn't want to go there, and they're still after. He's publicly come out and said he doesn't want to go. He wants to stay in Barcelona, and they're still after him. Like Liverpool don't do that. If a player doesn't want to come to us, good luck. So even if they do get him in now for big money, is his heart going to be there? So that's what, if you're a United fan, should be worrying you. They're going to go down the old route of buying players for big money that don't want to be there. Like Pogba. Pogba didn't want to be there. He was just getting his money. He was world class for France and crap for United.
Well, the interesting thing about Pogba, I think he wanted to be there at the start because, much like Ronaldo, I mean, he wanted to be there at the start because he had dreams of, bringing United back to the top. But,
he gave up his dreams very quick, though.
Sour, and I think that's part of it. Yeah, I mean, it's part of the fact that their team's not very good, but they're in this vicious cycle where the fans. It's a bit like Everton, where the fans get on their back because they're not as good as the fans think they should be. And that's just like a toxic atmosphere. You wanted to come in, Abdul. You wanted to say something.
Nah, I mean, I was just scratching my armpit. But I think one thing that is you're talking about this like negative kind of spiral that the teams have caught themselves in. It's amazing. Like Liverpool, it feels like every step that we take is just always the right step in the right direction. But then, for some teams like United, it's like no matter what you do, it just seems like the wrong decision. And it's very hard to break that. You do kind of need like a complete reset moment, and you need the fans to just get off your back, and you need the fans to accept that, the club isn't what you think it is. And I think it's hard with United because they are actually stocked full of top talented players. I think Sancho's an incredible player. I think, Luke Shaw's a great player. And I know you're going to give me some flack again. But
I'm definitely giving you flack already about Luke Shaw, but carry on.
I think Harry Maguire is a good player. I just think the situation that they found themselves.
I can't just let you carry on there, but hang on. Just before you carry on.
No way.
Which international team do you support?
I don't know. I like England. I support
England. I rest my case.
It's quite obvious. Yeah, it's quite.
I think you look at it. Just look at it. It completely objectively. I think he's a good player. He can pass the ball. He's strong. He's just obviously more than what you guys said about Frank Lampard. He's just missing a few neurons in his brain. And I've
seen seasons turn quicker than Harry Maguire.
But Abdul,
go on, Alan.
You just said it there. Actually, in all your praise for him, you said he's a good player. He's not a great player.
Yeah.
He's an average player. That if he was playing for Villa or someone, you'd say, he's not going to United or he's not going anywhere.
Or if he was
I would think,
Scottish, yeah.
but
It's
it's
we can't
United
get.
blew their load. They blew their load on him for sure. They
Yeah.
saw Liverpool sign Van Dijk. They saw City sign Ruben Diaz, and they were like, "We need a big statement signing centre back."
And they got
Harry
it
Maguire,
wrong. Yeah.
yeah, they got it wrong, very, very wrong. But
Yeah.
he is. I think there is a good player there, and his performances for England. I think you got the raw attributes to build a good defense, but he suffers from Joe Hart syndrome. Basically, he just shows too much outward passion and just United as a club. They just suffer from too much talk from the fans, too much talk from Ollie when he was there, too much talk from certain players. Rashford, you're doing great things for, society, but just too much talk from him, too many apology notes, apps, freaking apologies. Just everybody talks too much of that club, and they just need to calm down, focus on the football, and I think things can turn around, but they just need that reset period really, really badly. And I think the club that a lot of teams in the Premier League need to emulate at the moment is probably Arsenal, because we haven't got onto them yet, but Arsenal are a very, very good team, I think. And I think Arsenal are going to make a lot of heads drop, or jaws drop this season. I think Arteta's done an incredible job, and they had to go through a lot of pain to get to this point. And that's what United need. They need some bloodletting. They need some leeches on their skin. They need that pain. They need to go through the pain and stop putting it off.
I mean, it's great. It's great. It's a great link into the next section. I mean, I could talk about United for ages, and I can talk about just how good their players are or not for ages, because we can debate this. I mean, it is open to opinion, but Arsenal, you mentioned, this is the last one of our rivals we're going to look at, although Jamie's made a good point via the WhatsApp group. He says Chelsea and Spurs should benefit from being relatively settled and with good managers doing a full pre-season. I think that's absolutely great point from Jamie, but we won't talk about Chelsea and Spurs. We'll the last rival we'll talk about, and then we'll get onto the pronunciation of Bajcetic, and it's very difficult for me to pronounce the last C, but I'll talk about the pronunciation at the end of this show. Arsenal, yeah. Abdul, they feel to me, though, I agree with what you're saying. I think they've made some excellent signings. Fabio Vieira, they've got options. Martinelli's a year older. Saka, the brilliant Saka's a year older. Now, there's an English player that I really like, as super talented. Smith Rowe as well. I mean, he's a wonderful talent. So, yeah, they've got all these talented players. Thomas Partey made a big difference when he was injury-free. So they could be, maybe a surprise for some, but they remind me of the dark horses, before every international competition, with Belgium, the golden generation of Belgium, England back in 1996. And the thing with all of these dark horse teams is that they never quite get there, Abdul. So how high do you think Arsenal will actually finish? Third, fourth? Because they're not going to break the Liverpool City noose grip, are they?
So I think I really hope they don't do well enough to get into the Champions League, because Bukayo Saka's contract situation is very much predicated on whether Arsenal get into the Champions League.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, he's been holding out on signing a new deal with them for a bit now. And he's been talking about he wants a release clause in there, being insistent. Mainly, he just wants to play Champions League football. And if Arsenal go another season without getting that, then he is very, very seriously going to consider his options. And I hope that happens because, like you said, I would love to see him in a Liverpool shirt.
What a dream.
Literally. So I very much hope that they're not there yet. But one thing about Arsenal I will say is last season, there was a point in the season when they were clearly playing the second best football in the league, I would say, possibly on par with Man City. They were playing really, really good football. But the problem with them last season was just the consistency. They won, I think, possibly more matches than Chelsea, but then they had something ridiculous, like 13, maybe 15 losses all season long. Not even draws, just straight losses. If everyone remembers when Kop came into Liverpool, I think one of the first things he said is, we are a good team, we can play good football, but we don't have any consistency. And that is just not acceptable. If you want to be a winning team, you need to be consistent. And you can't just play like helter-skelter football, score loads of goals, and then concede loads as well. And that is Arteta's main focus point this season. He has to figure out how to get them to consistently get results. And it's going to be hard. It's going to be harder than last season because they're now playing European football. They're going to have that third game in the midweek. But saying that, the thing that, if I was an Arsenal fan, that would give me a lot of heart is this team has a lot of heart. They beat Chelsea last night 4-0. And Thomas Tuchel said after the match, the reason why the Arsenal team just looks so far ahead of Chelsea at the moment is because the Arsenal players look very, very willing to be mentally exhausted for the team. Like, they're pretty much willing to die for the team at the moment. So Arteta's got them in that kind of mentality, that siege mentality that has done Liverpool a lot of favours over the last few years. They see themselves as the underdogs. They have a target that they're working towards. And they've got a lot of young players who want to prove something to the world. And especially now they signed Gabriel Jesus. They signed Zinchenko, 2 players who are on the fringes at Man City, who want to prove a point now to the Premier League that, we're not just City's leftovers. We are actually top quality players. So I think they've got all the pieces in place. I think they need one centre mid. If they sign Artur from Juventus, that completes them. I don't know who else, maybe a Ruben Neves, but just that deep line midfielder who can possibly replace Xhaka. And I think that's it. They've got good quality at centre back now. They've got Saliba back. He's apparently going to get a new deal. I think they're pretty much there. I don't know if they can use up City and Liverpool. I think that's a big task for them. But I definitely think they could be top 3. I think they could have a better season than Chelsea. I think they possibly will get top 4. I hope they don't, but I think they will be top 4 by the end of the season.
I hope they do get top 4 because I prefer, my ideal top 4. Well, Manchester City are obviously going to be in it. Liverpool are going to be champions, obviously. And then Spurs and Arsenal, because I just prefer them by far to Chelsea and United and any other contender there might be, unless there's a big surprise and Nottingham Forest get up there or some other team, and that'd be fun as well. No, Stephen Gerrard's Aston Villa, of course, that would be ideal. But that's cookie talk. Yes, Alan, the Arsenal. Just to remind you, then, but we'll go on to Bajcetic just to finish off. Just after I ask you about Arsenal, because just to remind you that Gabriel Jesus, Marquinhos, not the Paris Marquinhos, but Marquinhos from Sao Paulo. They've signed him. They've signed Matt Turner from New England Revolution. No idea who he is. They signed Fabio Vieira, great talent from Porto, 34 million. And of course, Zinchenko, as Abdul mentioned. Have they done everything to finish third? Or will they, as Gary says in the chat, will they be undone? Will they get exposed by Newcastle or Nottingham Forest?
Yeah, fair play to Gary in the chat. He's put in some great questions there. It's very good. Yeah.
So
like Abdul said there, they've bought a few good players. I really like that Vieira chap they bought. I like him. My doubt about Arsenal is the manager. Like my sister Olive is an Arsenal fan, and my best friend Paul, 2 Arsenal fans. We have good chats, but even I think Arteta is a good manager. He's done a good job there. He had a hard job when he came into it. But sometimes there's a manager in all sports that reaches a level and you just need someone else to push that next step. At the end of last season, Arsenal were looking like they were going to finish top 4. They had a few games to go and only had to win one of them, I think, if I'm correct. And then they lost 2 games in a row. I just feel that Arteta or the team or something, they're just lacking that kind of, what would you say, mentality to push on and win. I hope it doesn't come back to bite them this year again, but it's like he's a great manager. They believe in him. They play good football, but they just don't believe in going. They haven't got the they haven't got the mental strength to go that last step. It's just what I have a feeling about him, and I hope I'm wrong because I love them as a player. Obviously, my sister being an Arsenal fan, I watched all their games and stuff. And you're right, I have a soft spot for Arsenal. I'd rather see them fourth than Chelsea or even the Spurs. But I just don't. I don't feel he has that extra step in him just to push the team forward. You know, the way Klopp makes you believe and makes, even Ferguson made players believe they were the best. Arsenal just seem to be stuck at a level, and hopefully I'm wrong, and hopefully they do push on, but I just can't see it.
Well, it's a very interesting answer. Absolutely. Okay. Well, I mean, and I agree. I agree with lots of it, about their mentality. We'll see. We'll see what happens this season. But yeah, maybe they'll come good. Maybe they'll learn the lessons from last year. Okay. Bajcetic is the last thing to talk about then. So, I mean, I'm actually not pronouncing it correctly, but let me just say that Bajcetic is it's quite a complicated one. But it's Slavic, right? So Slavic, according to Wikipedia, Slavic languages, including Ukrainian, Russian, etc., are thought to descend from a proto-language spoken in the early Middle Ages called Proto-Slavic, and it's an Indo-European language. And basically, when you have Slavic languages that don't have the Cyrillic alphabet, like Serbian or Czech or Slovak, then you can read them like the Roman alphabet. Okay, so and they're phonetic. It's not like English, where, for example, in Irish, where you have for example, the first name Siobhan spelled Siobhan. Our very own Caoimh Kelleher, Caoimhan. That's definitely someone after a couple of jars of Irish whiskey. Invented the spelling of that. Whereas Slavic languages, you can just read them from left to right. So Bajcetic, so ba, b, 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 a, okay. The J is a Y. Now, lots of people who don't speak other languages other than English, they put, for example, they say Jota for Diogo Jota. No, this isn't Portuguese. Portuguese is a Latin language. Remember, this is a Slavic language from Proto-Slavic in the Middle Ages. So Slavic languages, every time you have a J, like Jovanovic, for example, then it's a Y, as in yellow. It's like a Y. So by, and then the C is the thing that's hard. You've got a C with a little V on top, which I can't do on my keyboard. The first C in Bajcetic has a little V on top, which is like Czech, where you pronounce it as a ch, like church. So it's Bajc, and then is like E, Bajcetic, Bajcetic, and I can't do the last one. Now, according to the website Serbonica, the last C has a sort of acute accent on the top of it, right? And how you pronounce this, the closest we have in English language is ch again. So Bajcetic, if you want to just pronounce it the English way, but the actual pronunciation, you have to put to produce the C with the acute accent on top. The tip of your tongue is behind your lower front teeth, and the middle part of your tongue is up and almost stuck to your palate, like when you make an L. If you make an L, then your tongue, you see, it goes to the top of your mouth automatically, L. So that you make the same L, but you're actually saying a ch at the same time. So it's ch, I think. So Bajcetic. Oh, it's a hard one to pronounce. So forgive me if you're Serbian and I've just butchered it. Please let us know, koponpodcast@gmail.com. But anyway, he looks like he's quite good at football, Abdul. Bajcetic, the question is, and I'm sticking with Bajcetic because of the last C with it's hard. The question is, Fabinho is our only number 6. Hendo can play there, but Hendo in the Champions League, later stages is not. He might get found out as a number 6. Are you all right now? You've seen the excellent quality that he's got. Apparently, his he's got Spanish nationality, and one of his parents played. I think his dad played for the Serbian national team, so he comes from good stock. Are you happy enough, Abdul, with our number 6 options, given the very promising signs from Stefan Bajcetic?
Interesting fact about Stefan Bajcetic. Hope I didn't butcher that either. His dad used to play not only for the Serbian national team, he played for Celta Vigo in Spain, which is, I guess, where he probably met Bajcetic's mother. And his dad used to play for Celta Vigo at the same time that Thiago's father, Mazinho, played for Celta Vigo.
Oh, great.
So,
love it.
Ex-teammates and now teammates again in the next generation. Yeah, nice little fact. But great player. I remember Pep Linders talking like a couple months ago saying, oh, this next preseason, I want to see Luke Chambers. I want to see Bobby Clark. I want to see Bajcetic. So he already name dropped him from a long time ago saying, I want to see these players in our preseason training just to get a good look at them. And I'm pretty sure Bajcetic, he's played centre back a lot at youth levels. And he hasn't even been at Liverpool for that long, apparently. There's an interview he did a day ago for LFC TV. And he's like, yeah, you haven't actually been at Liverpool for that long. Maybe like a season, maybe 2 at max. But he's clearly impressed a lot of people. He's here on preseason. He looks, the player that I would kind of compare him to is a type of Busquets, but a lot more physical. I think he gets, like the goal for Nunez, he was pressing all the way up the field. I don't think you'll ever see Busquets really doing that. But the Busquets comparison is really when centre-backs pass into him, I think he's got a much bigger radius as a 6 for like passing the ball forward than even Fabinho. I think like he'll receive the ball and I feel a lot more confident that he'll be able to turn his body under pressure and play a ball into Carvalho's feet or maybe into Elliott's feet, maybe like a 180-degree angle, really. I feel like he can really operate like that. That's a really kind of Busquets kind of trait, the coolness and the sharpness of mind to be able to do that under pressure. It's possibly the hardest position on the pitch as a footballer, and I think he's got that naturally. I think his next step is obviously he's only 17 years old, very slender frame. Everybody always says it as a cliche, but yeah, I think he has to put on a bit of weight, some muscle, gain some physicality, but very promising signs already. And in terms of our 6s, I'm not sure if we'll use him that much, but with Tyler Morton going out on loan, and we did use Tyler Morton last season, maybe he does come into the equation. But I can see him playing a lot of under-23 football and maybe some League Cup and FA Cup performances. But yeah, that's great talent. Another one off the conveyor belt. Love it.
Wonderful answer. Absolutely wonderful answer. Fabinho said very similar things about him. He said, Fabinho said that Bajcetic recovered the ball in really important area and then passed to Harvey, and Harvey did the assist to Darwin. It's important. Bajcetic has trained with us. He will get better. He will have more confidence to take the ball, to turn, to do some stuff that the number 6 does. I think it is the hardest position to play in football. I think you're absolutely right, Abdul. And Alan, I think it's my favorite. Well, I mean, I don't know if you know that already, but it's my favorite position because it's just where everything happens. You know, the Brazilians call it the steering wheel of the team. And it's just, if you got a good number 6 like we do, then, you know, the sky's the limit, really. So, yeah, I mean, are you happy enough, Alan, with just to go in with Hendo, Fabinho, and Bajcetic?
I'll just call him Stefan. Thanks.
Stefan is good.
I'll tell you, I'm really impressed with him. I know he's only 17, so wouldn't expect him to step into many games this season. But like if you think of it, next year he's 18, and people are quite happy for us to spend a lot of money on Bellingham, who's 19. So it's not like he's 5 years away from getting into our team. I think he could sit into it very easily next year. But I knew nothing about him. I was lucky enough to watch the full game the other day, and I knew nothing about him. And to be honest, I was probably in the kitchen or something, and I missed him even coming on. And for a few minutes in the game, I was looking at him. Picture wasn't great, and he was making runs up forward and passing the ball. And I thought it was Carvalho, similar looking stature and hair and stuff. So again, when I realised who he was and was looking at him, as I said earlier on about that goal he helped set up, it wasn't just that about him. It was the simple balls. He was taking the ball in front of our goalie. He was just turning left, passing it, turning right, passing it. There was players on him, and he just so calm. I think that was what impressed me most about him. It wasn't just the bit going forward that everybody noticed. I think there's a clip on YouTube of every ball he touched. It's only 2 minutes long or something. But if you just look at that clip, you think this guy is playing in this team for 5 years. Like, he was so calm, so assured with the ball. Simple passes is what I like from a number 6 to start with. But like you said there, he has a passing range from what I've seen to match or even better Fabinho. Again, like, it's not for this season. Maybe he got a few games in the cups and stuff, but I think that's a great future for us in number 6, because it is the position that we need most. I think if we got a season out of him playing in the cups and getting a couple of games, build himself up a bit, like you said, I think he can be a great option and save us a lot of money.
Time will tell about your claim that he might have a better passing range than Fabinho, but yeah, I mean, let's hope so. It's all very bright. It's all bright. You know, the future's bright, and you know, the future's red, as the advert should go, because you know the preseason's going quite well. They're working their butts off in Austria. Ali's coming back. Alisson Ramesses Becker will be back soon enough. And I'm getting a bit excited because it's the, you know, the drought, the summer drought is almost over football wise, and we can look forward to some pretty excellent football coming up. Thank you so much to Alan and Abdul. It's been great as ever chatting to you. Thanks to everybody in the chat. I see Statman Stubbs has joined. But then he's off to the football. Enjoy the football. I don't know which football, if you're playing or watching, but enjoy that, Statman Stubbs. And in Statman Stubbs' football channel, everyone should check that out. Also, check out Abdul's channel at watch_LFC. Absolutely wonderful stuff on Twitter. So, yeah, thanks very much, Abdul and Alan. Have we missed anything? Is there anything that you would like to say, or is it just a sayonara from here on?
Just a quick mention for 2 players. Carvalho, fantastic.
Yes.
And I think it's a very important thing the other day was Mo Salah letting Starwin have that penalty.
Yes.
Fair play to him. He just handed the ball over and said, off you go. I don't think he deserves a mention.
Mo Salah. Absolutely. Yes, Abdul, anything else that we've missed?
I'm trying to think if there's any interesting player news or anything that I haven't seen, but yeah, I think everything's good. Just hope Bobby gets back fit ASAP. And yeah, is there anyone else? No, that's all good. So yeah.
Excellent. Well, in that case, thank you to everybody. Oh yes, definitely an RIP to David Moores as well. It's very sad news of him passing, and the fan that the Anfield Rap did a wonderful video of a fan, Eric, who met Kenny Dalglish. Check that out on Twitter as well. It was absolutely amazing video. So you know, condolences to the loved ones of anyone who's passed on, and for those of us who are still here, you know, I hope that everyone can find things to look forward to. And you know, we're really looking forward to the footy. So thanks everybody. You'll never walk alone. We'll see you very soon.